another cooking segment. Hope you don't mind. But I thought it was worthwhile, and it kind of relates to gardening. And that is about saving herbs. I save parsley, thyme, chives, basil, tarragon, and sometimes rosemary. So the first thing you're going to do, oh, let me just tell you. So the method that I use for freezing parsley and thyme, actually, I learned from Margaret Roach, A Way to Garden. She used to work for Martha Stewart. She writes for the New York Times every week. And there's a segment in her book, and I've met her a few times. Page 240 talks about freezing rosemary, thyme, or bay, freezing herbs in logs, which is great for parsley. So let's talk about. So when you freeze parsley, first you want to do is you want to wash it really well and then dry it. You want to dry it really well, okay? You're going to then take the leaves off the stems, okay? I don't chop it up. Now, let me talk for a second about using frozen parsley. So you're not going to use it like you would use fresh parsley. So we're going to get all the leaves off our parsley. We're going to make sure it's super dry. And then what we're going to do, let me show you the log method. I saw somebody else doing this the other day. This is Margaret Roach's method. I did not invent this. So you're going to take all the leaves, once they're dry, you're going to pile them in a Ziploc bag. You're going to scrunch as many leaves as you can. You could put bunches and bunches even in a single bag. You're going to roll this up super tight, get all the air out, put a rubber band around each side, really condense the log, okay? Now, when you want to use this in a recipe that calls for parsley, like I said, not fresh parsley, you're making a soup or a stew or something, you're going to take the log out and you're just going to chop off what you need. You're going to put the log back into your Ziploc bag. You're going to roll it really tight. Make sure all the air is out. Okay. And again, then you're going to tie it up. Okay. Now, I do the same thing with thyme, except what I do differently with thyme, I find it rather tedious to start stripping thyme leaves. So what I do is similar in that I grow a lot of thyme because I love it. Okay, I just take the entire stems, the stalks, I put them in a Ziploc bag, and what I find is as the season goes on and they've been frozen long enough, again, I'm going to roll these up just like I did the parsley, but then over time, they'll start separating, the leaves will start separating from the stems. And I don't even have to worry about, starting to strip it. If I just give the bag like a good bang, I get more than enough for any recipe. So that's how I do thyme. Rosemary, I would do the same way. I have put full stalks of rosemary in. And you could strip the leaves off rosemary. I think that's probably a little easier, but you could do it either way. The other thing I do is chives. Again, I have tons of chives. I chop those up and I just put them in small little containers and put them in the freezer. I'll just show you. Chives. I do the exact same thing with tarragon. So I put it in small containers. I just peel it off the stalk in that case, and I put that right in the freezer. If you don't have little containers, you can buy these little, I don't know, who is this by? Chef N? I don't know. You could buy these little things, and each one, you could put a different herb in there if you don't have that many. Even if you don't grow your own herbs. I grow my own herbs. But let's say you buy parsley for a recipe and you have, a bunch of parsley that's, this big. But you only need, 2 tablespoons for a recipe. What are you doing with the rest of it? Well, if you're going to know you're going to use it, you could save it in a damp paper towel, wrap it up, put it in a plastic bag, put it in the crisper drawer of your refrigerator. But if you're not, this is a perfect way to save the leftovers. So the other thing, obviously, basil. I use pesto all the time. I have it in the freezer constantly. I can give it away as gifts. And if you'd like me to show you how I make pesto, I use a recipe by Giada De Laurentiis. I've always used that recipe. I find it very simple. And anything you might want to know about that, please just ask me. Oregano. I save oregano. You know what? Give me a minute and I'll go get it and show it to you. Okay, oregano. So I take ice cube trays. I chop up my oregano and I put some olive oil and I put them in a freezer bag. This is, one of those where you press the air out of them. Then when I want some, I have, like a tablespoon of oil, and I've got my herb. I just pull out what I need. Typically over the winter when we're making stews and soups, a lot of our herbs are also being used when there's oil around. So this is a good method you could do this for rosemary. You can do this for oregano. You could do this for sage. Anything like that. Like I said, because you're typically using it with some oil. So that's how I store that. So I'm going to keep pulling the leaves off of this. And like I said, let me just show you again. This is Margaret Roach's book, A Way to Garden. She is a wealth of information on anything gardening related. I love this book, and she's lovely. I've been to her garden several times with the Garden Conservancy. She doesn't live too far from me. She lives in Copac, New York, and she'll talk to you a little bit. She'll walk you through how to save your herbs. Again, that's Margaret Roach's method. I didn't come up with this, and I'm not going to pretend that I did, but I've been using this method for years and it works great. So I hope you find this helpful.